not run away.
No, they are very much there.
All there.
How are you all? Good to see you.
Yes, ma'am. Same here.
Same here, ma'am.
To see you.
Yeah. So, should I just begin or what?
Yes, ma'am. You start.
Okay, I will share my. Is there a way to share my PPT? Yes, share
ma'am.
screen.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
use the share screen. Share screen is there.
Okay. It's coming as host disabled attendee screen sharing.
You just need to wait, sir. आप मैम को बना दीजिए को
Co-host
Ma'am,
बना
बना
दीजिए
दिया।
sir.
Ma'am, I have made you co-host of the meeting.
Okay, okay. So then I can start, I guess. Yes. So I'll just launch this. Okay, so I will be speaking on the magic of CRISPR-Cas9 systems today. Seeing the present scenario of the COVID, I thought Vikas and I discussed that this would be an interesting topic to speak on again.
Yes, ma'am, I have given a beta idea to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I want to tell was that, see, CRISPR-Cas, we've been hearing about CRISPR-Cas so much, but what is it actually? What is CRISPR-Cas? What we need to begin with, first thing that we need to know is that bacteria, even they have an immune system. We are all talking about in the immune system of human beings at the moment, but even bacteria has an immune system, and it uses the CRISPR-Cas as its immune system. So what is this? What is CRISPR-Cas? I would like all the students who are there to really take a look at this little diagram or diagrammatic structure that is there. And we'll see it has different components. So we'll discuss these components one by one and see how they are important in actually genome editing now, because we're not only we're going to use the CRISPR-Cas as a genome editing tool. So, but first we need to understand what it is. How does the bacteria in its natural environment use it? And then how did we as humans exploit the system to our benefit? So if you see this, we have this, you can see these black triangles and these red rectangles, these different colored rectangles. So they all mean something. You know that we have these gene boxes here, the CSN2, the Cas2, the Cas1, the Cas9, these are genes. And then we have a little stretch or something known as the tracer RNA. The rectangles and the triangles make up the CRISPR array. So they are these, they contain these repeat regions, and they have the spacer regions. The colored rectangles are the spacer regions, but the repeat regions are the ones that are the functional units. So we'll focus on the black triangles. And the Cas9 gene, this is the famous Cas9 gene, it encodes for a nuclease. And what does a nuclease do? It cleaves DNA. So this is the one that confers the immunity to the bacteria. It cleaves any incoming foreign DNA. In this case, for the case of the bacteria, it is a virus. The virus infects the bacteria. So the bacteria can recognize a viral DNA, and the Cas9 product, the product of the Cas9 gene will begin to cleave it. So the defining feature here is these repeats. And these black triangles are approximately around 20 to 50 base pairs. And these are conserved. These repeat sequences within a CRISPR locus are always conserved from one daughter generation to the next. But in different organisms, in different bacteria, they will differ. So in the middle are the spacer regions, which are also similarly around 20 to 50 base pairs of length. So, but the number of these repeat sequences will vary in a CRISPR locus. Now, this is a CRISPR locus. So this will vary within and among organisms. Within species also it will vary. It's not that the same species will have the same number. And of course, the different species will have different numbers of these little triangles. And the AT-rich leader sequence has been shown to serve as the promoter of the CRISPR transcription. So this whole thing gets transcribed once it's made functional, once it's needed. So the Cas genes, as I told you, they are exclusively found in the CRISPR locus. Whichever bacteria has the CRISPR locus, you will find these 4 genes. Different variants of these 4 genes, we'll discuss those also. but they will be present. And based on the sequence similarity to proteins of known function, Cas3 was predicted to be a helicase, and Cas4 is a Rec-B, that is a recombination B like exonuclease. So what is the history? Well, how did we come to know about this CRISPR-Cas system? So as I just told you all, that this is an adaptive immune system used by microbes to defend themselves against invading viruses by recording and targeting their DNA sequences. Now, this is the most important step that happens. That the bacteria, once it gets infected by the virus, what it will do is it will cleave a part of the viral DNA and take it into its own genome in the CRISPR-Cas locus that I just showed you all as the black triangle. So it will include it in its own genome as a part of that black triangle. That means each time a virus will attack a bacteria, the bacteria records it in a way by taking a little portion of its DNA, of the viral DNA, into its own genome in the CRISPR-Cas locus. So we know that viruses outnumber their microbial hosts in every ecological setting, and the selective pressures imposed by these rapidly evolving parasites has driven the diversification of microbial defense systems. So naturally, just the way we are now trying to fight the viruses, or we try to build up our immunity, even the bacteria needs to do that, because the virus, again, as we already know now, is omnipresent everywhere. So it's not only the mammals or human beings that are attacked by viruses, even bacteria are attacked by viruses. So the bacteria has to be one step ahead of the virus. So it has built up these different strategies how to fight the viruses. And now this one strategy, as I said, is what we as humans now exploit for our benefit. So it has not only the CRISPR-Cas system, but it has the restriction modification system. It has the abortive phage phenotype system, and it has a toxin, antitoxin, and other innate defense systems also, the bacteria. So the prokaryotes, that is the bacteria, they use an RNA-based adaptive immunity system to target and destroy genetic parasites. Now, many viruses are RNA-based, as we know. So it also uses an RNA-based adaptive immunity. Such adaptive immunity, previously thought to occur only in eukaryotes, provides an example of RNA-guided destruction of foreign genetic material by a process that is different from RNA interference. Now, you all must have studied a bit about RNA interference, also RNAi, but the CRISPR-Cas system is totally different from the RNAi system. It does not work the same way, although it uses the RNA as a guide system. So how scientists came to know about this, I've enumerated the history, but I will not go into each detail of the history. But they studied, when they began to study, they realized that some sequences are very, very similar, and they appear in different times in different clones. They were appearing many times in different clones. So, and then similar sequences were detected in other bacteria also. It was started in the E. coli K12 cells, but they came to know that other strains of E. coli also show this. So it was very surprising that why do different bacteria have the similar sequence, DNA sequencing appearing over and over again? Why is that happening? So they found them, this is a list of so many other bacteria, actinobacteria, except Mycobacterium tuberculosis. They do not find it there. They found it in other high stress bacteria, such as the halophilic bacteria, the one that is allowed to survive in high salt environments. They found this sequence even there. So this was again surprising. But now when they began to analyze the genes of this system, the CRISPR-Cas system, they found that there's the Cas1 gene, as I just showed you in the diagram. The Cas1 gene is a common component in all CRISPR systems. And this is the one, that's the link, the target that shows that, okay, this is the CRISPR system is present in this bacteria. There are little minor variations, but mostly they are homologous in all the systems. Between 4 and 10 Cas genes are found in association with the CRISPR loci, harboring special repeat sequences. So then, based on this, the nomenclature of CRISPR has been worked out. So there are 3 types of CRISPR systems. More than one CRISPR type is often found in a single organism, indicating that these systems are probably mutually compatible and could share functional components. And some bacterial genomes contain as many as 13 to 15 CRISPR loci. Type 1 systems are the one that encode the Cas3 gene. The Cas3 protein contains, now this is the little differences between the type 1, type 2 and the type 3. The type 2 is what is universally used, what we have what we have started using as a genomic editing tool. The Cas3 protein contains an N-terminal HD phosphohydrolase domain and a C-terminal helicase domain. In some type 1 system, the Cas3 nuclease and helicase domains are encoded by separate genes. Now, if you know what is the nuclease, the function of the nuclease is, of course, to cleave, and the helicase is to open up a double strand, right? So, if a nuclease or if any protein has or any enzyme has to work, it has to be able to open up the DNA so that it can make these two cleaves. The nuclease enzyme cleaves, if you all, I'm sure you all are aware, the phosphodiester bonds. So it has to open up the double strand, unwind it, that's the helicase part, and then the nuclease part will cleave it. So that's why the bacteria has the genes for these together. So these two domains are encoded separately by the Cas3 double prime and the Cas3 single prime respectively. But in each case, they are thought to participate in degrading foreign nucleic acids. Now, the type 2, as I said, is what we will be studying further. It consists of just 4 Cas genes, one of which is always Cas9. So you will always see the CRISPR Cas9 system, right? That is because it's the Cas9 gene which is now going to code for the nucleases. The Cas9 is a large protein that includes both a nuclease domain and an HNH nuclease domain as well. Studies in the Streptococcus pyogenes and Streptococcus thermophilus have indicated that Cas9 may participate in both CRISPR RNA processing as well as the target destruction. Now we have the type 3 as well. The 2 variations of the type 3 system have been identified till now, the A and the B. This division is supported by the functional differences which are seen in the Staph epidermidis and the Pyrococcus furiosus. The immune system in both of these targets the plasmid DNA in vivo, whereas the purified components of type 3b have been found to cleave only single-stranded RNA substrates in vitro. So these nucleases, they can also attack the plasmid, as was seen in the Staph epidermidis, as well as it can also, in the 3b can cleave single-stranded RNA. The functional distinction between these two closely related systems suggests that there could be other mechanistic differences between the distinct CRISPR subtypes. So this is the classification based on these, that different bacteria have these different kinds of CRISPR systems. So type 1, as I said, is a multi-subunit effector complex, has the Cas3. The type 3 is the 3A and 3B, is divided 3A and 3B. It is a DNA targeting. The 3B is the RNA targeting. The type 2, the class 2, type 2 is the one that we use. It has a single protein effector. It has the tracer RNA. It has the Cas9 gene, and it was found, or it was isolated from the Staph thermophilus and the Staph pyrogenes. We also have another one known as the type 5, which is a single protein effector, single RNA guided. Now, along with all this, the Cas9, we have different Cas also that have been now elucidated, such as the Cas13d, which is the one that is now being used for the CoV2, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So as you can see, this is the type 1e. This is the Cas3 gene here. This is the CSC1, the CSC2, the Cas7, the Cas5, and the Cas1 gene. So these, the blue ones are the universal protein types. The purple ones are the type dependent, and the orange colored genes encode for signature proteins of that typical or that specific type. So as we can see, the type 2b, the signature protein is the Cas9, whereas in type 3b, it is the Cas10. So now the process. So how does the bacteria use the CRISPR-Cas system to defend itself against viruses? And how did we use this system now to silence genes and for so many other different processes that I'll be discussing, like what is the use of, or what is the application of CRISPR-Cas? So the CRISPR-Cas defense process can be separated into either 2 or 3 stages. The first stage, referred to as adaptation, immunization, or spacer acquisition, involves the recognition and subsequent integration of spacers between 2 adjacent repeat units within the CRISPR locus. The spacers appear to be integrated primarily at one end, the leader end of the CRISPR locus. Thus, positional information represents a timeline of spacer acquisition events. To indicate the sequence on the viral genome that corresponds to a spacer, the term protospacer was coined. So what you can see here is what is happening. The first step is acquisition. This is the virus. Once it is entering the bacterial cell, now the bacteria will now acquire the viral DNA or even the plasmid DNA. As you can see this red portion here. So what it does is, as soon as it releases its RNA or DNA, the virus, the Cas locus gets activated, and there is a expression of the CRISPR array takes place. This will cleave this DNA and it will acquire it. You can see this red portion here will get acquired in this CRISPR array. And the Cas proteins will help it, the Cas9 and the other proteins will help it to cleave and acquire it. So the acquiring is very important. Similarly, from the plasmid DNA, that is if there is any other plasmid which the bacteria takes up and which is foreign to it and does not want it, it can cleave that too, and it will also cleave that DNA and make it a part of its own genome sequence. In several, but not all cases, a very short stretch of conserved nucleotides in the immediate vicinity of the protospacers, referred to as the protospacer adjacent motif. Now, this is a very, very important motif. This is the PAM or the CRISPR motif, appears to be a recognition motif required for acquisition of the DNA fragment. Now, how will it recognize at which, what part of the foreign DNA to take up? So this is the recognition motif. This is very important, that it should not recognize its own self. It should not start cleaving up its own DNA. What is stopping the Cas9 to start cleaving the bacterial DNA itself? So this is the recognition motif, the PAM motif, which allows that it will only pick up a foreign DNA. This first phase minimally requires 2 nucleases, that is the Cas1 and Cas2, both of which are universally present in genomes that have a functional CRISPR-Cas system and be considered hallmarks of the system. So the Cas1 and Cas2 are universally present. The CRISPR repeat sequence is duplicated for each new spacer sequence added, thus maintaining the spacer repeat architecture. So as I said, we have acquired it. The PAM sequences are being, you can see this red sequences, they are recognized. And now as soon as the viral DNA will be added, the spacer and the CRISPR proteins, the triangle and the rectangles will always alternate. You will not find the viral DNA or the acquired DNA is straddling or is right next to another viral DNA portion. There will be these, they are alternating always. So you can see these are the repeat sequences, the black ones, and these are the colored rectangles are the ones that the bacteria has acquired. And this is the way you can even count, as previously mentioned, you can even see the timelines, that first, which virus attacked the bacteria first and which attacked, later. From here it counts. So in the second stage, referred to as the CRISPR expression, a primary transcript of pre-CRISPR RNA or the pre-cRNA is transcribed from the CRISPR locus by the RNA polymerase. The next, specific endoribonucleases cleave the pre-cRNAs into small CRISPR RNAs. Based on their function, these small RNAs have also been referred to as the prokaryotic silencing or guide RNAs. So now we come to this second part here. This CRISPR array is now being transcribed, and it will get cleaved into small this is the one single, when the RNA is single, it is the pre-CRISPR RNA, but it gets cleaved into its own little hairpin loop, you can see, and this is the CRISPR RNA. This is which will go and interfere, or this is what will go and silence the required foreign DNA. In the third and final stage, described as interference or immunity, the CR, the CRISPR RNAs within a multi-protein complex called the cascade, that is the CRISPR-associated complex for antiviral defense, in particular organisms such as E. coli, can recognize and base pair specifically with regions of incoming foreign DNA or RNA that have perfect or almost perfect complementarity. That is, now you can see that the cascade takes place. This can recognize and base pair specifically with regions of incoming foreign DNA. And it will have naturally, because it is a part of that, it will have perfect complementarity and it will block. This will initiate the cleavage of the CRRNA foreign nucleic acid complex. So what will happen now, once they will bind, once in the step 3, this interference they will bind, it will recognize that particular sequence because that has been now transcribed by the bacteria itself, and many copies of that are present. It will just go and bind, it will block, it will mark it, and the nucleases will be, the bacterial nucleases will begin to cleave the foreign DNA. So this is the way it will stop attack of the virus. If there are mismatches between the spacer and target DNA, or if there are mutations in the PAM, then cleavage is not initiated because it is too dangerous. If it is not the exact, if the PAM is not recognized exact, then the bacteria will always be in doubt, is this the foreign DNA or is it self, or should I cleave it or not? So it has to be a perfect match for the PAM. Only then will the cleavage be initiated. In this case, DNA is not targeted for attack. Replication of the virus proceeds and the host is not immune to the virus attack and is lysed by the virus. So if the PAM is not recognized properly and the DNA of the virus will not be attacked, and the virus can then take over the host cell and the host will be killed. Lysis will take place. To operate as a defense system, all 3 phases, that is the spacer acquisition, the expression, and the interference, must be functional. But it's important to note that each of these processes can work independently, both mechanistically and temporally. Now, this is what we have exploited, that although the bacteria needs all these 3 systems, that recognition, that is the acquiring of the viral DNA, then the expression, and then the interference, then blocking it. All these 3 steps are required by the bacteria to successfully defend itself against the virus. But these 3 systems can take place actually separately. They can mechanically, if in a Petri plate we do it, we can. Temporally, meaning in a different space, we can do it. So that's why we are able to exploit the system, just for parts of the system. We don't need the whole these stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 for using it in genome editing. As Cas proteins are predicted to contain identifiable domains, characteristic of helicases, nucleases, polymerases, and RNA binding proteins. So this, you can see the Cas proteins have these 2 activities: an information processing subsystem, and requires the universally present core proteins, that is Cas1 and Cas2, as I told you, are required for PAM recognition, which are involved in new spacer acquisition. Then you have the subsystem, which is required for processing the CRISPR transcripts, that is the CRRNAs, to make it into small transcripts which can go and recognize the foreign DNA. And we have the degradation of invading foreign nucleic acid by the nucleases, which is quite diverse. So you can see, again, this is a table I put up, that you have the Cas1, which is universal. Cas2 is universal. That is, all CRISPR-Cas systems will have this. It's just a summary of what I've just spoken till now. And you will see that the Cas3, we discussed this, is the signature protein of the type 1. It brings about, it has the helicase activity, and most proteins have fusion to the HD nuclease. Basically, it's a nuclease and helicase. It has helicase activity. The Cas4 is found in type 1, type 2. The Cas5 is found in type 1. The Cas6 is found in type 1 and type 3. The Cas7, Cas8 also type 1. The Cas9 type 2 signature, and it is the large multi-domain protein which has the nucleus domain and the RUVC-like nucleus domain also, necessary for interference and target cleavage. Then you have the Cas10, which is the type 3 signature. We discussed the type 3A and the type 3B. So they're all, so the Cas1 and Cas2 are involved in the spacer acquisition. The Cas3 is the target interference. The Cas, all these purple ones you can see, the Cas4 here is spacer acquisition. The rest are for the CRISPR RNA expression. And the Cas9 is the target interference. The Cas10 is again the expression interference of the CRISPR RNA. So this again is a summary of this now with this new knowledge that we have. That you have the expressions of Cas6 in the type 1, type 3, and the type 4. In the class 2, we have the type 2, type 5, and the type 6. You can see that the Cas9, the product, this is the protein, this is the interference that is caused by this protein. The Cas9 nuclease is the main part. It has a bridge here also. And the cleavage activity is carried out by this, the Cas3. You have the adaptations. That is the different kinds of Cas1, Cas2, Cas4 are also found in class 2. So this is a chart showing the proportion of identified CRISPR-Cas loci. Many bacteria have been, now they have this CRISPR-Cas loci. That means the universal way that the bacteria defends itself. And this is they are showing that how different bacteria have this. I want to show you this. Now this is what is happening here. This is the viral DNA. This is the protospacer, which is the sequence just before the PAM. And this is the host DNA. This is the spacer of the host DNA. And these are the repeat sequences, the black triangles. These are these are the rectangles that we were talking about. Now this is the pre-cRNA. The endoribonuclease is here. Now this, the PAM gets recognized, and this sequence gets transferred here, the protospacer. Once it gets cleaved, it is included into the bacterial genome. Now for all its generations, it will have this. It will be able to recognize anytime this virus will now enter. The future generations they'll recognize. And this is the cRNA that is formed, the pre-cRNA first. And when it gets cleaved, you have this particular cRNA of this virus. You can see this blue thing here. So this will be 100% match the next time. And once this matches, the cascade system will take over and the foreign DNA will be cleaved and the host will become immune. But if there is any mismatch, the foreign DNA will not be cleaved and the host will not be immune. So that's why it is very important, as I said, this is totally, very stringently, it is replicated and carried forward. The CRISPR, this is the same thing again. The CRISPR array and the tracer RNA are transcribed, giving rise to a long chain cRNA and a tracer RNA. These two RNAs hybridize via the complementary sequences and are processed to shorter forms by Cas9 and RNase 3. It's the same thing what I just explained. As you can see, there's a tracer RNA which is now important. These two together will, this is the Cas9, this is the nucleus, this green thing that you can see is the nucleus. The tracer RNA together, they will recognize here, this is the RNase 3 system. The NGG, the PAM has, this is the specific, the N is the variant, the G and G are universal. So this gets recognized. And then once this gets recognized, the CRISPR RNA that was formed will bind to our proto-RNA that was there, and the Cas9 will neatly cleave it exactly where the viral DNA was present. So the viral DNA gets recognized this way. So this is happening in the virus. So the virus DNA is now cleaved. The mechanism for distinguishing self from non-self is built into the cRNA. The spacer sequence of each CRISPR RNA is flanked by a portion of the adjacent CRISPR repeat sequence, and any complementarity beyond the spacer into the adjacent repeat region signals self and prevents the destruction of the host chromosome. So again, this is important, that how much to cleave. So the spacer sequence is the one that recognizes, and any complementarity beyond the spacer and into adjacent repeat regions will signal, will tell the bacteria now it's cleaving its own DNA. It should not be, it should stop the nuclease activity now. This is again the same thing, sorry. Type 1, type 2, and type 3. Now, once the viral DNA has invaded the host cell, it can get recognized by this. So you can see here, this is the simple step. The Cas3 has recognized this, the PAM and the target DNA, and it will get cleaved. But here in the type 2, you will have the tracer RNA also present, which will form this loop, the hairpin loop bend. Only then will it recognize, and the RNase3 will start it will get cleaved, the target DNA will start to get cleaved. This system is not, this tracer RNA system is not present either in the type 1 or the type 3. So now how do we use this principle? What is this CRISPR-Cas that we are not interested in what is now, we know what was happening to the bacteria. We are now interested in how to use this CRISPR-Cas9 system for our benefit. So what do we do? The principle of genome editing is the cleavage of double-stranded DNA at a targeted position on the genome. The type 2 is the simplest as a targeted nucleus among the CRISPR-Cas systems. The CRISPR RNA, the CRRNA, having a sequence homologous to the target site and trans-activating CRISPR RNA. So now we put in we know we want to silence a gene or we want to change anything. We take, instead of the viral DNA getting incorporated in the CRISPR system, we put in our own sequence. That is a sequence that we introduce into another cell along with the whole CRISPR-Cas mechanism, all the Cas genes, which will go and recognize. So it has now our artificial system has the gene of our choice along with the CRISPR-Cas system. So it will go recognize, it will bind to our, we will introduce it into a cell, into the nucleus, and it will go and recognize the sequence that we are targeting and will cleave it. So suppose now we have a disease gene, a mutated gene, which we do not want to, which we don't want to express. So what we do is now we will introduce this whole, we will synthetically manufacture the sequence of the gene, the complementary sequence rather. We'll put in the tracer, we will put in the Cas9, we'll put in the whole CRISPR-Cas system, we'll introduce it into the cell, and this will go and exactly the way it has cleaved the viral DNA, it will cleave this diseased gene or the gene of our choice. So this is how we are exploiting the system basically. The CRISPR RNA having a sequence homologous to the target site and trans-activating CRISPR RNA are enough to bring the Cas9 nucleus to the target site. So this will help the Cas9 gene to come in close contact with the target site. The artificial linkage of the CRISPR RNA and the tracer RNA into one RNA chain, the single guide RNA, that is what we have made, has no effect on the function. Once the Cas9 signal RNA complex cleaves the target gene, it is easy to disrupt the function of the gene by deletion or insertion mutation. Now, that is what also we can do. Suppose we know that there is a single point mutation there somewhere, and which we want to remove. We can target that particular point by designing our sequence in such a way that it goes and complementarily binds to that region. It will cleave that single nucleotide out, and we can use ligases and polymerases now to build it up back again so that that particular mutations have been removed. Or we want to just silence this gene, then we can just cleave it, get it cleaved, and it will lose its function. This overwhelmingly simple method is now rapidly spreading as a radical genome editing technique. So this is how we are using this. But here also the PAM sequence is essential for target binding, but the exact sequence depends on the Cas proteins that we use. We'll use the popular Cas9 as an example. Once expressed, the Cas9 protein and the guide RNA form a ribonucleoprotein complex. You can see together the Cas9 that we've introduced from the bacteria. We have used this, we have this spacer and the scaffold together. They will go, and we also have introduced the sequence similar to our target. They will recognize, the PAM will recognize. This is the most important step. Then our target will get complementarily bound to the sequence that we have introduced, and the Cas9 will then swing into action and will cleave, and it will do a double stranded break will take place. And then there will be a non-homologous end joining will bring back our target DNA or the host DNA, and will make either a functional, or it will allow an insertion, or it will allow a deletion, or it will allow a frame shift to take place, so that if it's a frame shift and we want that this mutation should stop the expression, so it will stop the expression. Or if we'll delete out the mismatched or the mutated the nucleotide, if we can do that, or we can insert missing, if there was a missing nucleotide and that's why the gene had mutated, it was showing a mutated expression, so we can insert a nucleotide and bring back its original function. This was the wild type. So we can do all this using this system. So basically we will introduce the Cas9, we will introduce our own gene sequence, we will introduce the tracer along with it, such that the same activity that was taking place in the bacteria will now take place in our cells of interest, and we can introduce any of these changes. So, but again, there are many calls that we have to take place with that, which there is something known as the non-off-target, off-site. Hello?
Sanuja ma'am?
Ji?
Ma'am, I guess we are running short of time, so we have to wind up it, है ना? तो बच्चों को एक क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन भी रखना है एक छोटा सा उनको सवाल करने के लिए.
I will just go to my last few slides then. Quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I've explained the pathway. I just wanted to not touch upon the applications. So the microbial engineering is directly influences the development of the bio industry that we have. So how are we using this? So we have this, you can see, in contrast to microbes, mammalian cells have many different environments. So we have used this, let me just, for malaria resistant mosquitoes, suppose we can use it there, that we can, by deleting a gene that enables the malaria to survive in a mosquito's gut, the parasite is left unable to survive for long. So we can use this technology to engineer mosquitoes that are resistant to the malarial parasite. Then we have limitless supply of transplant organs. We can bring about, according to one international research initiative, that we can use this genome editing to turn them into safe organ donor candidates for humans. That is, we can silence their maybe MHCs, the major histocompatibility proteins. We can, this is a joke, as I always bring about in this presentation, that we can also encode these GIFs in our DNA. We can accurately encode images and even movies into DNA using this CRISPR-Cas. But more practical applications are, we can use this to understand how and why environmental changes are hurting coral reefs. We can get more efficient crops, improve the efficiency of how crops use water by 25%. We reduce the water usage by 25%. We get heat resistant cows. That is, we create heat resistant cows because we, using the CRISPR-Cas9 system, we silence those genes which respond to heat, and lesser milk is produced, or the cows do not thrive. So we can silence those genes using the system, and the cows will be of a better health and produce more milk. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, where did that go?
Hello?
Hello? Can you
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So this is how we can use this. Lately, what is happening now is that we are, just a second, I have lost my, I don't seem to be there.
Your system got hanged?
You are there, we can hear you, ma'am, and the slide is also there.
The slide is not there, no?
No, slide
No,
is
no, slide is there. Slide is there, ma'am. Slide is
And we
coming
can hear you.
Okay, I cannot see the sharing thing actually. Okay. I think now.
You can just stop screen share, ma'am, and share it again.
Okay. Yeah. This is it. For some reason it's not coming on.
There's a
In any
white
case,
screen is
what
coming.
I want to show you now was how CRISPR is being used to in our present the pandemic that is going on. What is happening is, I can't see the slide myself also actually, but I'll just talk about it. What they're doing is they're using it for in two ways. That is, one is they are using it to detect the virus as a detection tool, as a test kit. They're putting in the sequences, and if it recognizes if the sample has the virus, you can get a fluorescent signal, or you can recognize the presence of the viral DNA there. The second way that they're using it, of course, is as a vaccine. That how they can silence. Here they're not using the Cas9 system, they're using the Cas13D system actually, which is another which also has the same functions of nucleus, but it's a little different protein from the Cas9 nucleus. They're using the Cas13D. So they are really very furiously, along with the vaccines and drugs that are being looked into, the CRISPR-Cas system is also being looked into as a potential method to combat the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So I think I'll end here.
Thank
If
you,
there are
ma'am.
questions, yes, please.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your such a nice and wonderful talk. Now I'm inviting the participant to ask questions to ma'am
Yes.
regarding the
Please.
topic. The questions would be one by one. Yeah, please ask.
So you can unmute the student whosoever wants to
Yeah.
ask.
Any questions from a student?
Sridhara?
There should be.
Shrishti?
Hello.
Hello.
I guess she's not there, Roma.
Hello, ma'am. Can I ask question?
Yes,
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Ask.
sure.
Ma'am, actually, I was going through a news 2-3 days back. So CSIR lab has developed the diagnostic kit for
Yes.
COVID-19,
Yes.
and they
Yes.
have uses the Casper technology in it. So
Yes.
can you tell us what was exactly, because we are not getting it, how the diagnostic system uses the Casper system to evolve the things?
How the Casper system is being used for
Yeah.
detection.
Yeah, diagnostic purpose of COVID.
Mhm. I have this. Can you see? Can you still see the screen?
No, ma'am.
No. Actually, I just stopped the screen share.
Okay, never mind.
You can just share it again if you want.
No, it's okay. I can just tell them what they're doing is that they are using this the system. Similarly, what they're doing is they're putting in the sequences. They know the sequences. As you know, the CoV-2 virus has a lot of microRNAs also. If the whole genome has been sequenced. So what they're doing is they are picking up these sequences and something known as a lateral flow assay for detection. What they do is they use these the same sequence has been put into the similar system, the Cas9 system, for example. I'm not too sure if this is what the CSI people have done, but what they do is now they are going to use this as a target. So once they have the system in their artificial system, now they've taken some host, the sample, kisi infected person ka sample liya hai, and that they will now introduce this, the artificially constructed, the construct, and will allow the binding to take place. If it recognizes, there's 100, the PAM and the protospacers will recognize each other. That means that virus is present there in the sample.
Okay.
And they will have some kind of fluorescent or some kind of a indicator.
Okay, that strip
Which will
based method.
the strip, yes, which will show up, which will with the strip will in the changing of the color, I think, of the strip will show the presence of that particular viral DNA there. Now you must understand two things here. That the presence of the viral DNA itself will not indicate that the person is the virus is virulent inside the person. You must be reading reports at the moment that a lot of patients are showing positive again.
Yeah.
There was a report that
Yeah.
Even by testing, that although the similar method has been used, the virus has been detected and the person was treated or whatever recovered and then is now showing positive again. So that is because somewhere the viral DNA, these methods, all these different methods are using viral DNA. So the viral DNA may be present. So the test may show positive, but is the person showing the symptoms or not is also of concern.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
So it is the same way, the complementarity system, using the CRISPR-Cas9 system, they will look for the complementary sequences of the virus. If that virus is there present in the sample, so it will show up. If they will bind, जो हमने introduce किया है synthetic and जो present है in the sample, they will bind and some kind of an indicator will show up. As color, maybe in this paper case, will change color and you will show presence of the viral DNA.
Okay, they must be identifying the specific sequence of the
Yes,
COVID.
that they've already done.
In the synthetic part, and then the viral, the patient's specimen is integrating with complementary binding with each other.
Exactly. They have picked up, they have targeted the particular sequences see, as I said, the PAM is required.
Yeah.
That is very important. The recognition sequences have to be there. So that they have already, as I said, the whole sequence has been, the whole genome has been sequenced, the viral genome. So we know sections, which is the spike protein, which is the envelope protein, every sab kuch pata hai. So they are picking up the particular DNA which integrates into the host cells. Uska sequence is what they are putting into the CRISPR-Cas system. And as I said, they're not using the CRISPR-Cas9, they're using the CRISPR-Cas13.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then how early can we detect with this method?
Very early it should be, because see the symptoms begin to appear when a larger number of cells are infected. So, but even if you have few cells which will show this is a very sensitive system. It will show immediately. Within a day or two of infection, maybe you don't need a large number of cells.
Yeah, it just take 2 hours.
And 2 hours we have the incubation period of the virus itself is 14 days. So in the first initial 1 day or 2 day, you can take samples and you can detect.
And ma'am, this entire assay will take how long, ma'am? Like if I have the sample.
The assay will take maybe an hour or so.
Okay.
It will not take too long.
These companies like Abbott, they have designed a machine which is using the antibody technique.
Yes, so the antibody technique now, see, again, the antibody technique should be used only for people who are, who have fallen ill for the first time. Okay. Because otherwise, if you use the antibody technique, see, the virus is there. Now, if you have the antibody technique, the antibodies will, the recovered person will have its own antibodies, right? Yes. That could interfere. So people who are now falling ill for the first time, if they use that, the proteins against the viral proteins, and you are now designing antibodies against those, and those will show up.
Okay.
Even the Roche people have done the same.
Yes, ma'am.
Even Roche has designed the same kit, the antibody antigen kit.
You had mentioned in one slide that application of CRISPR gene has been applied over the production of heat resistance cows.
Yes.
So had there been practical applications at present?
Yes, there are so many practical applications. You can see not only diseases for these. Are you asking particularly about the cows?
Yeah, I mean, if there are these kind of applications in
applications are there in agriculture. It is there in agriculture. It is there in heat resistant, say barley. What is happening is with this a lot of climate change taking place. our wheat or barley for that matter, we have to move towards colder climates now
Yes.
because the changes in temperature. We don't have heat resistant wheat. So the genes which suffer because of the change in temperature, they can be now modified using CRISPR-Cas gene.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I
Any
hope
more
it was-
questions?
Yes.
Any
Yes,
more
sir.
questions? Yeah, please ask.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, actually, I wanted to know that the slides what we saw, we altered the DNA sequences of virus. So COVID-19 is also a virus. So we can make some vaccines because virus has the ability to make a memory that they have attacked a person or like that. So
Yes,
vaccine can
yes.
also be using this
Correct.
Casper-9.
So that's what I was trying to tell you. I am not able to share that with you all. I don't know why. Let me see. Can you all see it now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
What can you see? My PPT is there.
No. I mean, yeah, Windows screen of Zoom screen
Now,
is there.
पता नहीं क्यों, why it is not showing. Wait, I'll just stop share again and I'll start the share. So it is there. The latest paper I had put in there where they're using this, exactly what you've said. They're using this technology to detect the virus and of course to destroy it as a vaccine, not only as a detection tool, but also as a vaccine. They're working on that.
Okay, ma'am.
Exactly the same way that you said.
Anybody else to ask? Any questions?
I have no idea why this Zoom screen only is coming.
Ma'am, are you sharing the white screen or whiteboard?
No, I'm just.
It might be possible that you're sharing whiteboard only. There's a options of sharing whiteboard instead of screen sharing.
Okay. Sharing is paused. Bring your shared window to the front. Okay. Now can you see it?
No, ma'am, it is coming as a whiteboard.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Heat resistant.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now you can see this is the paper I was talking about, which is using the rapid detection of the coronavirus. That's how they're using a CRISPR-based detector lateral flow assay. They're using this technology here. This is what we're talking about, development of CRISPR as a prophylactic strategy to combat novel coronavirus and influenza. This is another one they have used. Like all CRISPR systems, this one is composed of two parts, enzyme and the strand of so-called the guide RNA. The RNA directs the enzyme, in this case, the Cas13d, as I told you, to latch onto specific spots in the coronavirus genome. So we want to introduce this system with guide RNA and enzyme, that is the Cas13d, and the guide RNA. The guide RNA will be the one that the sequence of what we will put of the virus. And this will then take the RNA.
विकास लगता है कोई प्रॉब्लम हो गई, जैसे नेटवर्क इशू है।
नेटवर्क इशू हो गया मेरे ख्याल से। इसमें लिख के आ रहा है डॉक्टर सनोज जबीर हैज स्टार्टेड स्क्रीन शेयरिंग अगेन, ऐसे क्या कह रहा है कुछ।
नहीं, थोड़ा हैंग हो गया लगता है।
हाँ। हेलो, स्क्रीन आ गई वापस शायद।
नहीं।
हेलो सलोजा मैम।
वो लेफ्ट हो गई है, वो है नहीं।
अच्छा लेफ्ट हो गई है,
लास्ट में दिख रही हैं, लास्ट में अब दिख रही हैं, लेकिन फोटो वगैरह नहीं दिख रहा है कुछ भी, सिर्फ उनका नाम आ रहा है।
है तो वो है तो
लेफ्ट नहीं हुई है,
में है, एकदम लास्ट में दिख रही है।
हेलो
यस मैम,
could you see that paper?
मैम को ऑडियो कनेक्टेड नहीं है।
हेलो
ऑडियो है, वीडियो नहीं है
मैम। आपका वीडियो नहीं आ रहा है।
You all could see that
विकास सर वाइंड अप करा दो, मुझे लग रहा है इश्यूज आ रहे हैं, इशू थैंक यू कर दो।
हाँ वाइंड अप करवा दिया।
हेलो हेलो मैम, मैम मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको? हेलो
नहीं आ रही है उनको।
सर आप
हाँ,
उन्हें
मैम।
कॉल करके फिर थैंक यू, अगर नहीं आ पाए
मैं कॉल करके बोल दूं क्या एक बार?
इसको वाइंड अप कर दो, फिर मैम को कॉल करके थैंक यू बोल दो।
हाँ वही मैं कह रही हूँ, इसे वाइंड अप कर दो और उन्हें कॉल करके थैंक यू बोल दो।
ठीक है, तो फिर हम लोग इसको यहाँ पे खत्म कर लेते हैं, है ना?
हाँ ठीक है,
तो मैं मीटिंग एंड कर देता हूँ।
ठीक है।
ठीक है।